In one verse, the Creator's splendor is manifested through these small and distinctive beings whose actions are programmed according to the inspiration of God Almighty. In His holy book, God Almighty assigned them a surah referred to as the Bees Surah, used in the plural form rather than the Bees Surah, for He talked about them in plural. With that, it is a clear reference to the collective lifestyle bees have, which is characterized by a precise system and a splendid construction. God Almighty said,
وأوحى ربك إلى النحل أن اتخذي من الجبال بيوتا ومن الشجر ومما يعرشون ثم كلي من كل الثمرات فاسلكي سبل ربك ذللا يخرج من بطونها شراب مختلف ألوانه فيه شفاء للناس إن في ذلك لآية لقوم يتفكرون.
Naming a Quranic surah after bees is an explicit call to us from God Almighty to reflect and ponder on the world of these blessed insects. That God has given the ability to collect the nectar of flowers, digest it, and turn it into a drink of different colors which heals people. It is a vast world full of secrets and verses that speak of faith and attest to the oneness of God Almighty. Bees have distinctive ways with communicating within their own world for construction, beekeeping, food production, and much more. This makes them similar to the human world, as the Quran referred to in God's saying, God Almighty said,
وما من دابة في الأرض ولا طائر يطير بجناحيه إلا أمثالكم ما فرطنا في الكتاب من شيء ثم إلى ربهم يحشرون.
Bees belong to the category of insects with wing membranes. There are about 20,000 bee species. They are spread around all the continents of the world except Antarctica. Honeybees are the most famous and important bee species because they produce nutritious and consumable honey. And bees feed on the nectar of flowers and pollen, and larvae consume pollen as their main food. The bee's body is divided into three parts: the head, the chest, and the abdomen. The honey stomach is located in the abdomen. The bee's body is covered with thick and soft hair. When the bee moves from one flower to another, pollen grains get stuck to these hairs. The bee's colors range from black to light brown. Males are slightly bigger than female workers, and queen bees are longer than both male bees and female workers. Bees have two types of eyes. Composite eyes. They are two eyes located on both sides of the bee's head, consisting of several thousands of optical units, and are hexagonal. Composite eyes are used for long-distance vision when the bee is outside the hive. They have the ability to distinguish the same range of colors distinguished by the human eyes, except for the red color. They are also sensitive to UV rays. Composite eyes in males include twice the number of visual units than that of the female workers. This is the reason why male eyes are noted as very large. Simple eyes. They are three eyes located on the top of the head, and the bee uses them for near vision and in dimmed light inside the hive. For bees do not have glasses like those used by man with short-sightedness and long-sightedness, but God has created them with two types of eyes that they used based on their need. Antennae. Antennae are delicate sensors connected to each other and attached to the front of the head. They contain delicate and sensitive organs that help with smelling. The mouth. The bee uses its tongue to absorb water, nectar, and honey into its mouth. The tongue is a flexible tube outside the head of the bee, which can be shortened, extended, and moved in all directions. The bee has two thin wings on each side of the chest. The front wings are larger than the rear wings. When the bee flies, the front and the short rear wings are connected by hooks located along the edge of the front wings. The bee has 3 legs on each side of its chest. Each leg has 5 main joints with additional delicate parts that make up the foot. The working bee uses its legs to walk and dust off pollen. Bees are specially characterized by their stinging needles, for they rely on them to defend their shelters and lives. The glands connected to the stinging needle produce a toxic substance called venom, which is made up of complex chemicals. This picture of the bee's brain taken by scientists proved that a bee's brain is so small that it is unable to do all the complex calculations to determine its route and behavior. And it flies around itself in a complex movement and guides its companions towards the direction and the location of food with extreme accuracy. Regarding this phenomenon, scientists say that there is a secret behind this complex behavior. The universe around us is full of great kingdoms. Kingdoms that bear witness to the greatness of the Creator, God the Almighty. All kingdoms and kings are created by the Almighty. We are now observing a strange kingdom. It's a kingdom in every sense of the word. Scientists have discovered its foundations, its power pillars, and the laws of its system with the advancement of the science of entomology. The Quran referred to its status and importance more than 1400 years ago. The number of bees in one hive significantly differs from one to another. And even within the same beehive itself throughout the year. An ideal hive contains, in good conditions, which is in late spring or summer, 1 queen, several hundred males, and 20,000 to 60,000 working bees. Each with a specific duty according to its gender and age, to maintain the life of the colony and fulfill the basic objectives of the hive and of all living species in general. And that are survival, reproduction, and protecting the lives of the new generations. In addition to the above, the cell contains a different number of eggs, larvae, and cocoons that grow into adult bees. The survival of a colony depends directly on the presence of the queen in the first place, and on the presence of a sufficient number of female bee workers secondly. No beehive can survive alone without being present in an integrated society in which it communicates with others through chemical components called pheromones, or through special movements called bee dances, through which bees delegate tasks and update each other on the latest news. The bee kingdom is made up of several bees, each performing a specific task. The queen bee. Generally, each hive can only have one queen bee. For if two queen bees coincide in the same beehive, there will be a clash that will end up in expulsing one of them, while the second takes control of the kingdom. It does the primary task for survival, and that is reproduction and laying eggs, because it is the only sexually mature female, and all the bees in the kingdom are of its lineage, as it lays up to 1,500 eggs a day in ideal conditions and during the warm seasons of the year. It is easy to distinguish the queen from the rest of the bees, for it is significantly larger than them, especially during the egg-laying period. And its wings cover only 2/3 of its body, unlike males and females, for their wings extend to almost the end. The female working bee. Working bees, the result of fertilized eggs, are sexually immature females. They are unable to reproduce or lay eggs in natural conditions. They are the smallest mature members of the beehive and definitely the largest in number. They are responsible for the majority of the daily work in the colony as they sweep their wings into the ground of the hive to remove all dirt. They aerate the colony so that the temperature does not rise unbearably, and they prepare the nectar of flowers that later become honey. They also highly serve nature by flying from one flower to another. They transport the pollen grains and give rare flowers a chance to reproduce. They bite enemies by the needle located at the end of the abdomen, which is connected to the digestive system. A working bee sacrifices its life protecting the colony through biting because one bite is enough to tear the worker's guts apart, and the needle remains on the body of the enemy. Male bees. They hatch from unfertilized eggs, and their key role is to impregnate the virgin queen, and they die immediately after fertilization. There are several hundreds of males in the beehive, but they are only available in the summer and late spring mostly. The size of the male head is greater than that of the female worker and the queen, and its composite eyes meet at the top, which makes it easy to be distinguished in terms of shape and in addition to lacking a needle at the end of the abdomen. Male bees do not have any role in the daily work of the hive, but scientists say that their presence is useful for some unknown purposes. They get fed from the beehive food savings, and no male has ever been seen feeding on flowers at all. Because they are larger than female workers, male bees need much more food. Thus, the presence of a large number of males is considered a burden on the colony. They are often expelled when they are no longer needed anymore and when cold seasons arrive. Eggs develop through several stages until reaching the stage of an adult insect. After hatching, they pass through the stage of jaundice, and then cocoons where they are fed and taken care of by the female workers until they are able to take care of themselves. We wonder why beehives are built with a hexagonal shape. Why don't bees choose a different geometric form? And the answer to that question is that bees need space to store nectar and protect it until it turns into honey. For this, bees build small storage spaces or cells that are large enough to fit only one bee inside and can be used as a storage space. These cells are made of wax, but bees tend to use as little wax as possible because its production requires a great deal of work and effort. But they also aim to maximize nectar storage space. Basically, bees look for a design that has allowed maximum honey storage space using the least amount of high-value wax. Thus, the shape chosen by bees around the world is the hexagonal, which fulfills the desired equation. Once we read the verse, "There emerges from their bellies a drink, varying in colors," it comes to our mind that the latter is limited only to honey and its apparent diversity of colors. The truth is that there is something much deeper than just this. For there are types of liquids other than honey that are produced by female bee workers, such as royal food, beeswax, bee poison, bee bread, and bee gum. Praise be upon God Almighty the Creator, who enabled this small insect to do work that modern giant man-made factories can't. Bees produce what is known as beeswax, which is used in the manufacture of some types of candles, colors, paints, and other important medical products. Honey. Honey produced by bees is rich in minerals, vitamins, and sugars. It is an important source of energy, antibacterial, antimicrobial, antiviral, and antifungi. Consuming honey reduces the percentage of fat in the body. It is beneficial for people suffering from obesity and cardiovascular diseases. It is also beneficial for the stomach because it does not ferment like other sugars. And it treats indigestion, constipation, and other digestive complications. Honey helps maintain healthy gums and teeth, and it is an effective treatment for burns because it contains an enzyme that produces hydrogen peroxide. Honey is also known to be used in the preparation of many cosmetics. Why don't we learn from bees? knowing that God has singled out a surah under their name in the Quran. This shall be a great matter and a great lesson that everyone who glorifies the Quran should pay attention to. One of the most important lessons that bees teach us is seriousness and perseverance at work and continuing to produce dynamically without laziness. To produce 1 kilogram of honey, bees fly out between 600,000 and 800,000 times, stand on 1 million flowers, and fly more than 10 times the circumference of the earth. Glory be to God, the Creator, who put wisdom in all creations.